Wet weather has followed the Renegade Monster Truck Tour all through 2021, and Selinsgrove Speedway would be no different. The roundup starts now. You are looking at the aftermath of a wet and wild two-show weekend in Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania at the Selinsgrove Speedway. It was a cold one, but that did not stop the greatest fans, the hardiest fans in motorsports from braving the weather to come out and see the Renegade Monster Truck Tour, the 2021 edition, live at the Selinsgrove Speedway. This track is known for being fast. It's got one of the longest no-man's lands on the tour. The rain would knock a little bit of the speed out, but it did not knock out the determination of these drivers to try to take that overall event championship, and the track crew worked hard to try to get this track back in shape. Why? Because they're all going for that. That is the Renegade Monster Truck Tour Championship checkered flag, and it is up for grabs, and there's a guy who really would like to get it, none other than Ryan Disharoon in the Saigon Shaker.
Continuing to get closer to the start of the Renegade Monster Truck Tour here at Selinsgrove Speedway. Incredible lineup tonight, and that's why here during the pre-show we're taking the time to let you meet some of the superstars who are here, and one I know you're going to be excited to see in action. We call him Flying Ryan Disharoon, by the wheel of Saigon Shaker. His dad, a legend in the industry, Rick Disharoon, with us as well, the original backcraft driver. These guys now run the metal shop and build a lot of the trucks on the, well, frankly, they build the best trucks that you see out there running today. But Ryan, today is all about you driving your truck. This Renegade Tour is just taking off, and right there, hanging in the middle on the flag stand, is the Renegade flag. And the interesting story there is whoever wins the overall event gets to carry that into the next week. So it's up for grabs for everybody. That would look awful sweet off the back of Saigon Shaker for tomorrow's show.
Oh man, that's what we want. We want to see that thing flying in the wind. We're going to put on an awesome show here in Selinsgrove, man. It's our first time out here. We ran a Renegade Tour. They're always professional, always do an awesome show. And I know you fans are going to be pumped up to see what we got in store.
Now, there's a lot of great trucks, and you know that coming in. But when you look at Zane Ratu out here, it's Stinger and Leash. This is like coming to his home track, and I think he thinks he's got to defend something here. So you guys better be ready.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. We're coming out here on his turf, and we got to play by his rules, but we're going to try and still beat him. You know what I mean? He's going to be a tough competitor, but he wants competition, and that's what we brought.
I want to get over your dad for a minute, Rick. You know, you've been around this game for so long, and again, now you're so involved in building so many of the top trucks that we see. But you know, after the weird year we've all experienced, when you look out and you see these fans pouring in, it's got to bring a smile to your faces as one of the originals in this business, really.
Yeah, I tell you right now, when you come into a place like this with a sold-out crowd, it shows you one thing for sure: the Renegade Tour is here to stay. It's got a great fan base, and you know that's what we're here for. We're here to make the fans happy. We give them a big show. I've got one of the best in the business. Ryan Disharoon is not only the driver, Flying Ryan, the driver, Saigon Shaker. He's also an incredible fabricator, and his designs are taking the old monster truck industry into a new decade and a whole new century.
You know, when you think about it, it's your all's business, it's your family business, and it's risen to the top, and it's got such a great reputation. But where it really has to prove itself is with this truck, because it's you, and it's in the truck you're driving, the piece that you built. There's a lot of pressure there, but you also always have a big smile on your face. I know you're going to go out there and tear it up.
Oh yeah, we built it to prove it. I mean, we've run that truck to the ground. We want to make sure that when the customer sees what that truck will do, they want to buy it. So I'm going to run that thing tonight, hard as I always do. We'll just call it testing.
Call it testing, but it's going to be for a big win tonight. We'll see if Saigon Shaker can grab that big flag. Big thanks. Great seeing Rick Disharoon here. Ryan Disharoon, we're going to see a lot of him flying around the track right here with the Renegade Monster Truck Tour.
Really awesome to have Scott Douglas on board with us for 2021. Matt Isbell, of course, with Scott calling the action live. If you want to see that, you got to get tickets and come and see us at the track live. Now, we get into best trick action on night number 1. Jerry Beck in Dirt Crew, who had problems in Marietta, Ohio. He was ready to make it up for this Renegade crowd. He started off with some big hang time in the best trick competition. Setting the bar high in Dirt Crew. It would take a bit to get around that big bad machine out of the Hoosier State. Now, Lindsay Ritu, good to see her back at the wheel of Pretty Wicked. She went over into the ride truck zone and tilled up the topsoil here in the Keystone State. Laying down a good run. You can tell the truck is not quite at 100%, but she would tie Dirt Crew. Zane Ritu and Stinger Unleashed in the best trick competition. He's known for a couple of things. One is some awesome stoppies and moonwalks. Couldn't get him here, as slick as this track was. Well, he's also known for turning these into mini freestyles, and he more than lived up to that reputation as he wheeled this metal shop chassis with that Steve Schmidt motor around this course. However, that slick surface was perfect for donuts. Ritu using every inch of this front stretch to put on a show. I'm not sure what part of this run was scored, but he would take the victory with a score of 14, much to the crowd's delight.
He's standing by with Scott Douglas, saying, first things first. They said 2 tricks. You did like 20, but these fans are just eating it up, and I know you guys are fired up, and that's the way it's going to be tonight.
Absolutely, that's the way it's going to be. You know, I cannot thank the boys at the metal shop enough for giving me the confidence in that piece. You know, that's a $250,000 monster truck that we've put together. We've worked 15 years of our life to build up what we got. Can't thank them enough. That truck lands like a dream. It handles like a dream. I just feel at home in it. So I can't thank them enough. Wayne's Towing and Recovery, 717 Wraps and Graphics out of Lancaster. Love them guys. They keep our trucks looking great all the time. But the shot for the night, the story for the whole night, the whole weekend has always been how narrow this track is here at Selinsgrove. The story for the night's going to be this track. Side-by-side drag racing here is always really dangerous. It's going to be super dangerous tonight. I mean, we're going to be going 30, 40 miles an hour. Our tires are probably going to be spinning 70, 80 miles an hour. And we're going to be going sideways down there. Those trucks are 13 foot wide times 2. That's 26 foot. You guys do the math on a 40-foot front stretch. We're going to give it everything we got, but I think it's going to be a big old game of chicken. You know what? We got a great team back there, and I know I'm not lifting, so those boys better be ready because Robin's racing.
Well, that's the end of the best trick competition. This was the beginning. Turbulence, John Fitzgerald opened up this competition. A little bit underpowered, but really solid driver. Loves standing the truck straight up and down. Almost got into the wall. Did a great job of keeping the truck from hitting the fence, but with the mud on the tires and an open front end, there he would stay for quite some time. And the track crew and John had a heck of a time getting this truck off the track. And you can see it right there. Nobody's fault. This is just a lot of grease, a lot of clay, and some bad circumstances. In fact, the car didn't want to leave the truck. You can see when they picked the truck up, the car tried to go with it. But after a lot of prying and pulling and a little bit of hammering, a little bit of rocking, Turbulence finally came free from the car, much to the crowd's delight. We're not done, though. We'll be back with more from Selinsgrove here on the Roundup. One of the great American speedways at the foot of the Poconos Mountains, Selinsgrove Speedway in Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania, one of the Keystone State's finest. We get into round number 1 of monster truck racing. There you see Jerry Beck in the Dirt Crew. I'm going to give you an idea of how slick this track actually was. He would take on Cliff Vowell in the Virginia Giant, that legacy machine out of the Old Dominion. Fairly new driver against a very experienced driver. Not a lot of traction with the top layer gone as your winner, Cliff Vowell, slides to a stop. However, that would be his only victorious run on the night. On to the semifinal round. Ryan Disharoon, the Saigon Shaker, did not get to go racing in Brookville, Pennsylvania. He was not happy about that. He was ready to tear it up. Well, he's going to bring that frustration right here to the front stretch of the Selinsgrove Speedway as Daniel Clark leads the line. We would send him. Almost missed the last set of cars, and Leon Hostetter flew across that finish line, but it was Ryan Disharoon and Saigon Shaker moving on to take on the winner of our next matchup. Cliff Vowell and Virginia Giant back on the line, still in that top lane, taking on Zane Ritu with a fresh Steve Smith motor in the back of Stinger Unleashed, the ATI Performance Products machine out of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. The Keystone State taking on the Old Dominion in the semi-final round as Daniel Clark staged them up. Both trucks struggling a little bit in the mid-range as they got into no man's land. You saw Vowell lay on the throttle and just blow the tires off. That would lead us into our championship matchup here on night number 1, and it was awesome. Ryan Disharoon trying to gain a little bit of revenge for what happened to him a week ago. In Saigon Shaker, he goes side by side with the man himself, Zane Ritu, and Stinger Unleashed. Almost ran out of room on the end of that track. Did a great job keeping it out of the wall, and Ryan Disharoon would pick up a very close victory in the Saigon Shaker. Put a few more points on the board to try to put that checkered flag on the back of his truck. As you can see, he came to the right. There's the popper ramp right there. Did a great job keeping that truck on all 4 BKT tires and keeping it out of the guardrail.
Yeah. I actually heard the crowd go, "Oh!" and I said, "What the hell just happened?" Because I couldn't see nothing.
It was sketchy, dude. When I get up that last lane, I literally...
Move on to our road ripper, Zachary Graybiel, who was in our championship race a week ago in Brookville, Pennsylvania. He comes on for a single pass. We couldn't go side by side on this narrow front stretch. You can see he's got a broken right front shock that's plaguing him a bit, but he would be very fast on this night at the Selinsgrove Speedway, dealing with the mud. Now, there was actually a roller right there at the beginning of the show. It's long gone. It turned itself into a little mud pit. But Graybiel, in twisted metal, would lay down a fast time of 1924. However, right behind him, a multi-time winner on this series, Richard Kramer in the Ford Ranger Sidekick at 11 PA. Swinging the lightweight rear end around and heading for home, Richard Kramer in the blue Ford Ranger would lay down at 18:04 to take the victory and another win on his 2021 Renegade campaign. That brings us to Renegade Monster Truck Freestyle, and this crowd was ready. We had an awesome lineup of trucks coming into this 8 of these big machines. John Fitzgerald, wanting to make up for that mishap in the best trick competition, didn't have the race passes he wanted. Again, I said he's a little underpowered. Trying to get his engine program together. They're working on it, but believe me, John is not afraid to get on that loud pedal. We've seen some amazing things from him over the years, but just needs a little more horsepower in the turbulent Chevrolet to do what he wants. Into some nice hang time. Turbulence would end up with a score of 11. Didn't finish at the bottom of the pack to start off freestyle. Up next, the man who opened our best trick competition in flying fashion, Jerry Beck, picking up where he left off there in Dirt Crew. Unbelievable the treatment he is able to give this chassis. This truck was originally built in 1993 for the 94 USHRA Thunder National Series, and a lot of modification over the years, but this big bad machine is still running strong. It's carried a lot of names on it over the years. In fact, it carried the name Screamin' Demon, once owned by Gary Bauer and then later owned by Jay Snyder, the father of Corey Snyder, who runs Toxic right here on the Renegade Monster Truck Tour. Jerry Beck, though, using it to perfection. The coilovers still standing strong, and Beck can throw just about anything he wants at this storied chassis. Beck rocking and rolling by twilight would lay down a run good enough for a 14 to take the lead in Renegade Monster Truck Tour Freestyle, and the fans absolutely loved it. Up next would be Lindsay Ratu, Pretty Wicked. Now, I told you this truck was not quite at 100%. This is the last time you're going to see it on this weekend in Selinsgrove because she drove it for all it was worth. If you can't tell, she has a broken right rear axle. It's hard enough dealing with a wet banked oval. Now to do it with one tire, not wanting to go along with you. She lays on that big, bad Steve Schmidt horsepower. The engine's starting to go away on her. A head gasket, it looks like, a lot of smoke rolling out. But that's because they use these trucks for everything they have. You can see some fuel puking out of the headers. Lindsay Ratu laying it down in front of the Keystone crowd. Near home for her. She gave them quite a run here in Renegade Monster Truck Freestyle. Again, threw everything she could at that truck. This is a very frustrated Lindsay Ratu. Truck not quite giving her what she wanted. Was good enough, though, for that 13. Now, Leon Hostetter, master of disaster. Becoming known for these bonsai hits in freestyle. Doing an awesome job in the Wayne's Towing and Recovery Chevrolet. Leon, out of Palmyra, came from the ranks of the Renegade Road Rippers. Did a great job in the Tough Truck Series last year. Zane saw his talent, put him at the wheel of this machine. And Leon tearing it up now on the Renegade Monster Truck Tour with the big boys at the wheel of this 12,000-pound monster machine with the Richard Midget motor in the back of it. Leon hammering on this thing. You can see the smoke starting to roll out. Another guy getting everything he could out of the truck as he clipped the wall right there. A little bit of a short run. Good enough for a 13. Not enough to get him to the top of the field, of course, but this guy came out a little bit mad after that race pass. He was looking for a lot more, hoping to take a clean sweep. Wasn't going to happen on this night, but he could at least try to go for a freestyle victory. Zane Ratu knew, though, who was up behind him, and he knew how good a run Jerry Beck had laid down. He knew what he was going to have to do to try to get that #1 spot with the Steve Schmidt-powered ATI Performance Products Stinger Unleashed. You see those big chunks of clay coming up? That is another layer of clay getting peeled off the top of this track, and they would get a little more tack out of it every time they would dig it down, just that much more. You take about an inch off the top, you get to a little drier soil, but every time they did, the moisture would just settle back into the clay and make it that much harder to gain traction. Ratu, however, laying down a classic Stinger Unleashed Marathon Freestyle, was getting the attention of the fans as much as the attention of the judges. Again, probably one of the most upsetting things to Ritu was not being able to do those two-wheel moves he's got so well known for over the years, but doing anything he can to make up for what he can't do here on the track, and he has done an awesome job in 2 shows here at Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania. Again, with a fresh engine in the back of this truck after blowing it up in Brookville, Pennsylvania, he was not about to lay down and let anyone win that checkered flag. He hadn't had it on the back of his truck since Beckley, West Virginia, and he wanted to fly the checkers after night number 1 in Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania. Could he do it? The run would be good enough for the lead. Zane Ritu took the number 1 spot after that run. He was your new leader with a score of 16, but there was 1 truck behind him, and it was a guy who had a lot to make up. Again, after a rough go of it in Brookville, Pennsylvania, Zane blew a motor, but he got through his run in Brookville, Pennsylvania. This guy broke a transmission and got hung up on his first big hit of his freestyle in Brookville. Here, the truck was running at 100%. This event was Ryan Disharoon's to lose. He had a great shot in the best trick competition. He won the racing competition, but he had a whole lot more for these fans in freestyle. You talk about a bonsai pass, and I want you to keep an eye on the bottom end of this truck. It's kind of hard to see, as dark as it is here on this infield. There are some parts coming loose under there. Hitting up on 2, bringing it back down. Didn't waste any time, right for the van stack again, but if you look underneath, that is not a sway bar adjuster, a sway bar arm hanging down. That is actually the engine oil accumulator. Came loose from the chassis, and Cam Becker shut him down very wisely so he wouldn't do any more damage. But at this point, Ryan Disharoon had done enough to pick up the freestyle victory with a score of 18 and take the event overall and pick up the Renegade Monster Truck Tour Championship checkered flag. In fact, he ran literally to the top of the podium and broke it loose from the fence. Ryan Disharoon, your night number 1 winner in Selinsgrove. As the rain started to come down, these guys would go back, regroup, and get ready for day number 2.
Looking for quality graphics? Look no further than Bradley Shaw Designs, specializing in graphic designs for banners, vinyl wraps, posters, promotional items, and more. Bradley Shaw Designs is the exclusive digital graphics partner of the Renegade Monster Truck Tour and Ritu Motorsports. For more info, check out BradleyShawDesigns.com.
As day number 2 at Selinsgrove Speedway opened, the skies were still very cloudy, but the rain had held off. The track was dry. It was still cold, but the best fans in motorsports are monster truck fans. They bundled up. They got the blankets. They got the raincoats even, and came out for an awesome afternoon of action with the 2021 Renegade Monster Truck Tour, and Saigon Shaker had the lead going into event 2.
Well, this guy's on a roll. Last night, taking the overall event championship. He'll be carrying the Renegades flag on the back of Saigon Shaker today. It's Flying Ryan Disharoon. Boy, you brought that truck out and put on a show last night. And, for you and your dad at the metal shop, you build these trucks. But as we talked yesterday before the event, this is you're kind of the poster child for what the metal shop does. And boy, you showed everybody how great your trucks are. You had to be proud last night.
Oh, super proud, man. It was our night last night. That truck was on rails. It was driving itself almost. It just felt so good. You can hit that truck at any angle on a jump, and it sucks it up. You know, it's a good truck, and we're proud. We bring it here to prove it. That's why we run it as hard as we do. We want people to see the durability our truck can handle. You know, the tough stuff out there is brutal on this truck. So I just want to put it through the ringer.
Last night's racing final was you and Zane Ratu and Stinger Unleashed, and it literally was a foot or two at the finish line, and neither one of you was lifted, both going for it. But the cool thing was, and Zane talked about it earlier, you know, those are two of the newest trucks the metal shop's built, and so it was really a great test. But Zane wanted that, but he was pushing you hard.
Oh yeah, he wanted it bad, and he got out of the truck that night and said, "Man, good race. That was close." I said, "Well, it should have been closer to the exact same truck." But the trucks right now we're producing are just top of the line. I'll be honest. I mean, I'm not trying to toot our own horns, but I'm very proud of what we're producing.
Well, you don't have to toot your own horn. I'll just give people a heads up. If you don't already do it on social media, just look up the Metal Shop, follow the Metal Shop. The Metal Shop moment of the day. If you're into the trucks and the creation of them, you guys are constantly building something new and cool, and you put the pictures up for people to look at.
Yeah, thank you. It's something cool we started. Actually, my grandfather started with a thing called Shop Cat, so people would look at what the Shop Cat was doing that day. And then he passed away, and a guy carried it on named Bruce Massey. And he decided, hey, I'm gonna take a picture every day and just give people a little scope of what's going on in the shop every day. And people love it, man. They go on there and they see what we're doing, and anyone who knows what they're looking at, they go back the next day and want to see more.
Hey, good luck, brother. We'll look for another big day from you in the Saigon Shaker.
Sounds good, Scott. We'll see you out there.
Flying Ryan Disharu, ready to bring it in the Saigon Shaker.
Well, the rain had held off, and the track was just about perfect, but around showtime, the skies opened up, the rain came down, and we ended up right back where we started with a very slick track. In fact, a slicker track, as John Fitzgerald opened up best trick competition in turbulence. Again, a solid driver, ready to rumble at the ranks that he is running here at the Renegade Monster Truck Tour, but still looking for a little bit more horsepower. But serve notice that he was not afraid to put his foot in as he leapt over the van stack in the best trick competition, even threw a few bonus moves into this run as he had learned from the day before. You don't just do your 2 hits and drive off. If you want to win one of these competitions, you got to be ready to skirt the rules a little bit here with the Renegade Monster Truck Tour. John with a score of 12. The best trick competition, day number 2 at Selinsgrove. Leon Hostetter now getting after it in Master of Disaster, the Wayne's Towing and Recovery Chevrolet, showing you just how slick it is with a score of 14. He would take the lead in the big Chevrolet, the Wayne's Towing and Recovery machine. Right behind him, though, Zane Ratu in Stinger Unleashed, trying to make up for the second place that he ran night number 1. He was ready to throw it down here in Selinsgrove on this very slick track as he put the power to the clay and tilled up the topsoil. Finishing with a 15, Zane Ratu in Stinger Unleashed, putting himself in good standing to try to get the checkered flag off the back of this machine. Flying Ryan Disharoon out of Delmar, Maryland, in the wild, woolly Saigon Shaker. Again, I'm not sure how they were scoring this best trick competition, but it did once again come down to Saigon and Stinger. The track with that metal shop horsepower, that big 557 cubic inch motor rumbling here at the foot of the Poconos. Ryan must have liked the way that checkered flag looked on the back of that Jeep Kaiser as he tore up the track here in Selinsgrove, working his way down to the far end. He wasn't done yet. In fact, we thought he was never going to stop as he put on basically a full freestyle, flying over the van stack. And with that, he would take the lead with a score of 17. So at this point, Ryan was in good standing. We'll take a quick break from the monsters, though, and show you the future of this industry, the Wayne's Towing and Recovery Minis. And right now we're going to feature Garrett, Virginia Giant, getting wild on a less than ideal track. Straight up and down and over on the top. Track crew immediately running over to check on him.
What were you thinking going over that jump?
It's really steep, so I figured that I would go out and try and do a wheelie off of it.
I mean, the fans love it. Did you have a good time?
Yeah.
So, are you going to come back here next year and give these fans more than that Virginia Giant Wayne's Towing and Recovery Mini Monster Truck?
Yes, definitely.
How about it, fans? Give it up for Gary and Virginia Giant!
See him trying to catch his breath during that interview. He took a slap on the cage. It's a hard hit for anybody, but he's a tough kid. For reference, I'm going to take you back a year to Franklin, Pennsylvania. Watch Garrett turn him on in Pretty Wicked. Getting wild, not afraid of that loud pedal. Tore it up, but the crowd loved it on that night in 2020. That will bring us back to monster trucks. Round number 1 of side-by-side monster truck racing. We start off just the way we did yesterday with Virginia Giant and Dirt Crew. And you can see this track has lost even more ability to hold horsepower. It is absolutely treacherous out there as the rain continued to fall. The final matchup of round number 1 saw Saigon Shaker taking on John Fitzgerald in Turbulence. And Saigon seemed to be able to start getting horsepower to the ground. Well, you can see the wheel spin as he went through no man's land. Those BKT logos just going around and around. He was blowing the tires off on some very, very wet clay here on the front stretch. Semi-final round action. Virginia Giant now on the bottom side of the track. Zane Ratu looked at the track, said he wanted that top lane. He had lane choice going into the semis. And it would pay off for him as every time Cliff got on the throttle, the truck would pull to the left and down the track toward the wall, opening up the lead for Zane Ratu and Stinger Unleashed. Jerry Beck and Dirt Crew. Fast loser out of round number 1 now. Back on the line, side by side with the Saigon Shaker. Ryan Disharoon looking toward a potential championship race and a repeat of the night number 1 final round here in Selinsgrove. And that is exactly where he would end up. Saigon Shaker and Stinger Unleashed coming back to the starting line for day number 2's championship final round in side-by-side monster truck racing. Ryan working to keep that checkered flag on the back of that Jeep Kaiser. He loved the way it looked back there. We liked the way it looked flying in the breeze, albeit a little cold breeze here. These guys were definitely making some horsepower at the foot of the Poconos, thundering through the mountains here at the Selinsgrove Speedway. And this was lined up to be an awesome final round race. But I want you to take a good look at Stinger because it's going to be the last time you see it on this edition of the Renegade Roundup. Saigon pulled into stage. Stinger pulled into stage. Stinger Unleashed, the ATI Performance Products Stinger Unleashed. Out of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, taking on Saigon Shaker out of Delaware. A pair of metal shop chassis in the finals again. Halfway through that run, though, you see Zane let off. Broken champagne bolts as Ryan Disharoon takes another wild ride in the shutdown area, but it was enough to keep him on top of the field and pretty much seal up the championship for Ryan Disharoon. Flying Ryan, the Saigon Shaker. He needed to get through freestyle. There were a couple guys that could still knock him out, but Disharoon was looking toward back-to-back victories. We'll tell you how it ended up when we come back to the Renegade Roundup. The Renegade Roundup coming right back at you from Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania, and we go straight in to Renegade Monster Truck Freestyle. Chandler West coming out on a sloppy track, and you can see as the rain continued to fall, this track just got worse and worse, and that again is not the fault of anybody on the Renegade Monster Truck Tour crew, certainly not the fault of the track crew here at Selinsgrove Speedway. That is what you contend with when you run these 12,000-pound machines outside, and this is another storied chassis here under Quad Chaos as Chandler West worked his way up and down this front stretch to lay down one of the early scores in Renegade Monster Truck Tour Freestyle. Quad Chaos looking good here in Selinsgrove Speedway, and he would wrap it up with some big hang time over the van stack. And with the smoke blowing out, he would set an early lead at a score of 12. Quad Chaos taking the number one spot. At that point on top was John Fitzgerald, whose truck you see sitting down at the far end. As he had problems with the mag, was not able to keep fire underneath of that machine, and running real close to him there is Jerry Beck, the team truck to Quad Chaos, and the owner of these two machines, Dirt Crew and Quad. And Jerry loves getting that big hang time. He did not disappoint on this afternoon in Selinsgrove. And talk to a guy really interesting to listen to talk about his shocks, Jerry Beck. Always seems to have the suspension tuned so well. This truck soaks up just about anything he throws at it. Same with Quad Chaos. You can just beat those two trucks to death. And it seems like they'll take it as Beck works his way up and down maybe one of the slickest tracks we've seen since Gilbert, Pennsylvania. But Beck knew who was coming up behind him. He knew Ryan Disharoon would have something for the fans here in Selinsgrove. Couldn't take the checkered flag off the back of Saigon at this point, but he could make it awful difficult for Ryan to pick up a freestyle victory. Very wisely backed out of it right there, and he hit that van stack the way he was going. There would have been a mess all up and down the front stretch. But turning him on with all that big hang time in Dirt Crew, did everything he could do, and there you see the score of 18 for Jerry Beck in the flying dump truck, living up to the hype. And he knew, again, who was coming up behind him, Flying Ryan. Ready to live up to his moniker in the Saigon Shaker, but you can see already having trouble keeping the truck down center. Does a great job of not hitting that guardrail and tearing that up, but Ryan had his work cut out for him after the run Jerry Beck laid down. I think had the track been a little drier, he'd have straightened it up and gone right for that van stack. He avoided it, though, hit it on the way back. You can see the flag is dragging the ground. The pole is bent. Ryan got shut off right there as they had to check the rear end, make sure he didn't break a sway bar or anything. Lands to the right, straightens it right up. With a bonsai pass, the flag is gone, and again, Disharoon fighting to keep the Kaiser out of the wall. Backing up, though, was hurting his score. He needed to try not to do that, but it was almost impossible as he soars this big machine on the front stretch of the speedway. Getting into the rail finally. We wondered when it was going to happen. Not a lot of room up there. Built him a truck he could beat on, and he's doing that right here, but the thing is soaking it up. sway bars tweaked a little bit, no problem. In fact, when he comes over this van stack again, you'll see he straightens it right up as he lands on the right side. Disharoon, though, with all that stopping and backing up, as good as this run was not able to take the lead. 1 point short as he throws mud all over our camera crew. Disharoon getting the crowd on their feet, but Jerry Beck and Dirt Crew would take the freestyle victory. However, Ryan did take your overall. It's another win for Saigon Shaker here at Selinsgrove. Back-to-back victories. We thank you for joining us for this edition of the Renegade Round Up from Selinsgrove. Our next full coverage will be coming at you from Kokomo, Indiana. Don't miss your chance to see the Renegade Monster Truck Tour live. Visit us online at renegademttour.com or the Renegade Monster Truck Tour on Facebook.